The Mask of Zorro didn't bring the legend back quietly. It came with swords drawn, hearts racing, and fire in every frame. But behind the scenes, the blade nearly broke. The original script? No Alejandro, just Zorro's last stand. Zeta-Jones was almost dropped until she lit up the screen. And the mask reveal? Spielberg had to fight the studio to keep it. These are 20 weird facts about the Mask of Zorro. And lurking behind the legend? A government threat that nearly shut it all down. Draw your blade. Zorro almost vanished. Number 1. Before a single sword was drawn, Steven Spielberg was already shaping the legend. In the early 90s, he helped develop the Mask of Zorro through his company, Amblin Entertainment. He wasn't brought in late. He was there from the beginning, guiding the tone, helping build the script, pushing to bring the classic hero back with fire and elegance. For a while, he even considered directing it himself, but the timing collided with another project, Saving Private Ryan. He had to choose. And Spielberg chose war over romance. He stepped back from the director's chair, but not from the film. He stayed on as executive producer. He handpicked Martin Campbell, who had just redefined Bond with GoldenEye. And he remained close, weighing in on casting, structure, and the visual style that gave the film its weight. Spielberg didn't ride with Zorro on screen, but behind the curtain, he left his signature on the blade.
Do you know how to use that thing?
Yes. The pointy end goes into the other man.
This is going to take a lot of work.
Number 2. In the beginning, there was only one Zorro. The earliest drafts followed Don Diego de la Vega, older, slower, and ready for one last mission. There was no Alejandro, no passing of the sword, just a lone ride into legend. But the studio pushed for something bigger, something they could build a future on. So the writers rewrote history. They created Alejandro Murrieta, a thief, a drunk, a man with rage in his blood, and a shadow to live up to. That shift changed everything, from myth to mentorship, from solo legend to legacy. And in the space between old and new, Zorro became timeless again.
Who's that?
That's the man who killed my brother.
You're drunk and you're angry, in no condition to fight a professional soldier.
Get out of my way, old man.
Number 3. He was nervous. He'd never led a Hollywood blockbuster, and now they wanted him to wear the mask? Antonio Banderas read the script and hesitated. Too big, too risky, too fast. But something pulled him back. Maybe it was the chance to play a Latino hero on a global stage. Maybe it was the sword training. Maybe it was the legacy. Whatever it was, he said yes. He went all in. And what followed was 3 months of combat, choreography, and physical discipline. When cameras rolled, there was no trace of doubt left, just fire. And the birth of a new kind of action star.
Lesson number 1. Never attack in anger. Lesson number 2. Come with me.
What? So what is lesson number 3?
To get to lesson number 4.
Number 4. Anthony Hopkins wasn't the first choice, or the second. When casting Don Diego de la Vega, the original Zorro, the studio didn't settle. They wanted someone with presence, an actor who brought history with him just by being there. Sean Connery was the first call, then Raul Julia. 2 legends, 2 near misses. Connery passed due to scheduling. Julia wanted the role, but his health was failing. He passed away before filming began. It wasn't just a casting delay, it was a shadow, a reminder that even heroes age and vanish. The role sat open, the clock was ticking. That's when Hopkins stepped in, just weeks before shooting began. He'd just come off the edge and didn't need to prove anything. But the story of a weary swordsman, passing on his legacy to the next, struck a chord. He trained fast, learned the fights, grew the beard, and once he stepped into frame, the energy changed. What was nearly lost to casting Limbo became one of the film's strongest pillars, because Hopkins didn't just fill the role, he gave it soul and memory. Number 5. One fireball went too far. During a climactic explosion, the special effects team miscalculated the blast radius. What was supposed to be controlled wasn't. The heat hit harder than expected. Props were destroyed. A section of the set caught fire. Crew scrambled. No one was seriously hurt, but it was close. Too close. After that, fire crews were kept on standby. Every blast was double-checked, and every actor told to trust nothing unless they saw it rehearsed twice. The final scene looked dangerous for a reason, because sometimes it actually was. Number 6. This film didn't just fight swords, it fought something invisible. Midway through production, a virus swept through the crew. Cast and staff dropped like dominoes, sick, fevered, exhausted. Scenes had to be rearranged. Shoot days were lost. 1 week, production nearly shut down completely. They kept filming where they could. Tight shots, second units, silent sets. And the scenes that looked tense? They were. But not always for the reasons you'd expect. It wasn't just a swashbuckling epic. It was a war of attrition behind the scenes. Number 7. He didn't just play Zorro, he bled for it. Antonio Banderas started training months before the cameras rolled, mastering footwork, blade rhythm, and on-the-move choreography. 6 days a week, hours a day. He drilled on rooftops. He practiced with live blades. He pushed until the sword felt like an extension of his own hand. And when the camera closed in on a strike, there was no stuntman, no movie magic, just sweat, muscle memory, and a man becoming a legend one step at a time. Number 8. Nobody saw it coming. The Mask of Zorro opened in a crowded summer, competing with comedies, action flicks, and a wave of sequels. But it carved out its own legend. On a $95 million budget, it brought in over $250 million worldwide. Audiences didn't just show up, they came back for more. The swordplay, the chemistry, the mask, it hit all at once. Critics praised it, fans embraced it, and Hollywood took notes. Because sometimes the most classic story can still cut the deepest. Number 9. She had the part, but not the studio's confidence. Catherine Zeta-Jones was cast early in the process, but as production ramped up, studio executives started second-guessing her. Too unknown, too British, not enough box office draw. They pushed for bigger names, safer bets, someone audiences already knew, but Spielberg stood firm. He'd seen her test, he knew what she could bring. Director Martin Campbell backed her too, and they shut the conversation down. She stayed. And when the cameras rolled, something shifted. She delivered every scene with precision. Her accent, her timing, her presence. Not flashy, not overplayed, just locked in and unforgettable. By the time the film wrapped, there was no doubt. She wasn't just the female lead, she was the film's center of gravity. Critics called her performance magnetic. Audiences left theaters remembering her name. The studio that nearly let her go ended up building the entire campaign around her. Because Zeta-Jones didn't just prove herself, she made sure they never asked the question again.
Good morning, senor.
Good morning, señorita.
Whatever it is you have stolen from my father, I want it back. Give it to me.
No.
Number 10. Before Zorro, most sword fights still looked like performances. Clean, wide, and theatrical. Pretty to watch, easy to follow, but not exactly dangerous. This film changed that. The choreography became faster, heavier, more grounded. Every swing felt like it could end a life, not just dazzle a crowd. Antonio Banderas and the cast trained relentlessly to bring that realism to the screen. Footwork tightened, blades moved with weight. The fights stopped being dances and started feeling like duels, and Hollywood took notice. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Count of Monte Cristo, even Game of Thrones, all leaned into that same raw physical style. Suddenly, it wasn't about flair, it was about survival. The Mask of Zorro didn't just revive a legend, it raised the bar for how heroes fight on screen and what it means to earn every inch. Number 11. Behind the scenes, Zorro wasn't taught with a script. He was passed down, one-on-one. Early in production, Anthony Hopkins invited Antonio Banderas to rehearse privately, away from the set, away from the crew. No cameras, just dialogue, just movement, just rhythm. It wasn't just about blocking or lines. It was about control, presence, stillness. Hopkins wanted to show him how to balance fire with precision, how a look could cut deeper than a blade. That session changed everything. From that moment forward, Banderas didn't just perform beside Hopkins. He mirrored him, learned from him, and built a Zorro that honored both past and present. Number 12. The spotlight didn't take long to find her. After The Mask of Zorro hit theaters, Catherine Zeta-Jones was nominated for MTV's Best Breakthrough Performance, placing her in the company of rising A-listers, and signaling she was now more than just a newcomer. Studios noticed. Scripts poured in. Within a year, she was headlining Entrapment alongside Sean Connery. Then came The Haunting, Traffic, and Chicago. Each role bigger, riskier, more acclaimed. By 2003, she'd won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, not just as a performer, but as a force. What started as a single nomination became a pattern. Leading roles, red carpets, top billing. Zorro didn't just open a door, it kicked it wide open, and Catherine Zeta-Jones never looked back.
I have broken the fourth commandment, Padre.
You kill somebody?
No, that is not the fourth commandment.
Of course not.
Number 13. Zorro without the horse? Unthinkable. But riding wasn't second nature for Antonio Banderas. He trained hard, not just to look good in the saddle, but to ride like Zorro. He worked with professional trainers and wranglers behind the scenes, mastering speed, control, and stunt movement. No green screen, no faking it. By the time the cameras rolled, he could perform chase scenes, mount mid-gallop, and pull off synchronized rides with trained horses. Because for Banderas, if he was going to wear the mask, he had to earn the ride. Number 14. The sword fights in the Mask of Zorro didn't just look good. They had weight, speed, purpose. That came from one man, Bob Anderson. He wasn't just a fight choreographer, he was a legend. He'd crossed blades for the Princess Bride. He trained Darth Vader in The Empire Strikes Back. He gave Aragorn his grit in The Lord of the Rings. And when Zorro called, he trained them all. Hopkins, Zeta-Jones, the stunt team. Every duel was built from the ground up, mapped, rehearsed, refined. His style was fast and grounded. No flashy spins, no wasted movement. He didn't choreograph fights. He built character into every cut. And when the blades finally clashed on screen, they didn't just feel cinematic. They felt personal, because Anderson didn't just teach them how to fight. He taught them how to leave a mark. Number 15. The hills, the towns, the dust, none of it was faked. The Mask of Zorro was filmed on location in central Mexico, with most interior scenes shot at Churubusco Studios in Mexico City, the same place where Pan's Labyrinth would later shoot. The production leaned into texture, real haciendas, real sun, real adobe walls that cracked under heat. Even background extras were pulled from nearby villages. It didn't just look authentic, it was. And the result? A movie that didn't just recreate old California, it echoed the real landscape that inspired it. Number 16. No shortcuts, no digital cheats. Director Martin Campbell came from the old school and insisted that Zorro keep its feet in the dirt. That meant fire, blades, horses, and explosions, all real. Wire rigs were hidden in costume seams. Stunts were rehearsed for weeks. Even the rooftop chases were practical, filmed on location, not green screen. For Campbell, CGI could enhance, but never replace. He wanted sweat. He wanted speed. He wanted danger. And every time Zorro leaps from a rooftop, sword raised against the sun, you're not watching pixels. You're watching commitment. Number 17. It never appeared in the movie, not in the dialogue, not in the credits, not even whispered in the wind, but everyone remembers it.
Justice leaves its mark.
That single line, spoken only in the trailer, became the heartbeat of the Mask of Zorro's entire campaign. It was sharp, bold, symbolic, a perfect echo of the blade and the brand. Fans clung to it, posters printed it. Even years later, the phrase shows up in fan art, merch, and quote lists, as if it was spoken in the film itself. But it never was. It lived in the preview. It vanished from the final cut. And somehow, that made it stronger. Because for a hero who never stays, sometimes all that's left behind is the mark. Number 18. It's the moment everything turns. The mask, the silhouette, the first time Alejandro becomes Zorro. But the studio didn't love it. They called it too slow, too theatrical. They wanted it trimmed, maybe even scrapped. Spielberg refused. He knew the weight of that reveal. He knew the power of a quiet pause before the storm. He wasn't just producing. He was protecting the soul of the story. The mask stayed. The silence stayed. And a new Zorro was born. Not with a line of dialogue, but with a shadow across his face.
Zorro, you look better than ever. Be careful, señorita. There are dangerous men about.
Well, if you see any, be sure to point them out.
Number 19. Before The Mask of Zorro, Hollywood was cautious. Studios were hesitant to cast Latin actors in heroic leads, especially in major action franchises. Antonio Banderas changed that. He wasn't the villain. He wasn't the sidekick. He was the hero, charming, skilled, and fully in control of the story. Zorro didn't just work, it soared. The film was a box office success. The reviews praised Banderas' performance, and suddenly, the industry couldn't deny it. A Latin lead could carry a blockbuster. Doors opened. For Banderas, and for others who followed, it wasn't just about visibility, it was about validation, that audiences would show up for a hero who didn't fit the same old mold. And though progress came slowly, this film carved something permanent. Because in a town where image is everything, Zorro proved that legacy comes in many faces.
I had impure thoughts about a man. I did. I think he was a bandit or something. He wore a black mask.
Ruggedly handsome?
I do not know. His face was half covered.
Number 20. It wasn't just the swordplay that stuck with people, it was the sound. The theme song, I Want to Spend My Lifetime Loving You, performed by Mark Anthony and Tina Arena, hit the international charts and played through weddings, dance halls, and late-night TV for years. It wasn't written as a pop hit, but it became one anyway. Sweeping, romantic, iconic. The movie gave us fire and fury. The song gave us its heartbeat. And for millions of fans, Zorro didn't end with the sword. It ended with a dance. Bonus fact, it wasn't swords or stunts that almost shut the film down. It was bribery. While filming on location in Mexico, the production faced sudden delays, blocked roads, surprise inspections, missing permits. Nothing official, just inconvenient. Behind the scenes, local officials were quietly demanding money, under the table, to let filming continue. The producers refused. Lawyers got involved. Security was increased. Scenes were moved. Schedules shifted. And the crew kept quiet. Because speaking up could have made things worse. The Mask of Zorro almost lost its fight off screen, but the team held the line. And in the end, the only thing that got unmasked was the corruption. Zorro wasn't just a man with a sword. He was a symbol of justice, of rebellion, of reinvention. Behind the mask, legends collided. A Welsh knight, a Spanish outlaw, a British newcomer no one saw coming. And somehow, it worked. Because this wasn't about one actor or one fight. It was about legacy, passed from hand to hand, blade to blade. The Mask of Zorro revived a myth. It redefined sword fights. It launched careers, cracked open old studio doors, and reminded audiences that charm could be just as sharp as steel. So if this film left a mark, it wasn't by accident. It carved its way in, with style, with grit. And like Zorro himself, it disappeared before you realized it had changed everything. If this story left a mark on you too, drop a comment, leave a like, and subscribe for more legends behind the legends. Because the mark may fade, but the story stays.